are overdue, and you're seeing some of the outcomes of it.
You know, Gary, I know like a dog with a bone on this 10-year note, but it fascinates me because yields are collapsing. They're just collapsing. 1.38% for a 10-year. Not even 3.5 weeks ago, we were flirting at the 1.70% level. What is going on there? What is the bond market telling us?
Well, you're not a dog with a bone. It's very meaningful. And let me add one other part of the equation. The strongest stocks in the market in the last week, Procter & Gamble, General Mills, Post, household products, we're talking utilities, we're talking recession-resistant companies that do best when the economy is softening or going into a recession. So you combine interest rates going down with that, and I just asked the question, what the heck is the market thinking? And the market is quite often correct. So you are right. I think we have a softening of the economy going on into the new year, even though I keep hearing from some people it's the strongest economy ever. But that's been coming off of COVID, so I'm not so sure how strong, and I do believe the markets are onto something, and I think you are correct on looking at that very closely.
Gary, have a good weekend, my friend. Good talking to you again. Now, Gary Cooper, I'm following all these developments right now. Again, we'll continue to follow what's going on in the bond market, continue to follow what's going on in the stock market. They're in tandem today here, but again, this flight to quality or maybe an uncertainty where people are heading to bonds is a little bit weird, right? I mean, it's just sending some mixed messages here. But a lot of it is again, undercurrent-driven, right? And concerns right now that this is a wild card. We know it's spreading fast. We know, thankfully, that it doesn't appear to be super, super serious, but we are watching it. As is the President of the United States, who is sending a warning out to those unvaccinated. It could be a long and deadly winter if they don't get vaccinated. This on the heels of reports that the one thing he wanted to push through this year, that Build Back Better program, doesn't look likely this year. After this.
Holiday your way with channels for every occasion on the SXM app. Set the season off with Rockin' Christmas. Make your holiday parties a hit with Jolly Christmas. Or share a silent night with Holiday Chill Out. Explore more than 15 holiday music channels exclusively on the SXM app. With violent crime on the rise across the country, life is more dangerous than ever. It's time for safer self-defense with Taser, the perfect non-lethal sidekick to your self-defense arsenal. Taser's energy weapons can stop threats before, during, and after you pull the trigger. Designed for home defense, your
in 1/10 of a mile, make a
to keep your family safe.
slight right turn onto I-10 East towards Bay St. Louis.
Attackers' muscles for up to 30 seconds, so you can escape safely. And when paired with your phone, the Taser Pulse Plus alerts emergency dispatchers.
Make a slight right turn onto I-10 East towards Bay St. Louis now. In 1 mile, keep right on I-10 East.
Trusted by police officers across the country since 1993, giving you the confidence to pull the trigger and safer self-defense. Get Taser Pulse Plus today and save 15% when you go to taser.com and enter promo code VOXBUSINESS. Spelled TASER.com, promo code VOXBUSINESS. Supplies are limited. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
I love my X chair. I don't like it, I love it. It is by far the most comfortable chair I've ever owned, and honestly, it's probably the coolest piece of furniture in my office. What makes it so great? It's got this thing called DVL, and I think that stands for Dynamic Variable Lumbar. What I know is that it supports my back like no chair I've ever had before. And it even has this L-Max technology, which has 4 different massage options, and I can like cool or warm my back. So I've never had an office chair that can do things like that. And I don't know about you, but I'm splitting my time these days between my home office and my traditional office, my old office. And if you're doing that too, take my advice. Get an X chair for each. Because once you've sat in an X chair and felt the difference for yourself, trust me, you're not going to want to sit in another office chair again.
Buy early, buy now. Buy while supplies last. Go to xchairoffice.com now. That's the letter X, chairoffice.com for $100 off your order. X chair is a 30-day guarantee of complete comfort, and you can find it at your
In 1/2 mile, keep right on I-10 East towards Bay St. Louis.
With inflation at a 30-year high and COVID variants shaking up the markets, demand for alternative assets is surging. Did you know that one of the most sought-after investments by those looking for long-term growth with low volatility is fine art? That's
keep right on I-10 east towards Bay St. Louis now. Proceed on I-10 east.
And for the first time ever, you can too. With a new fintech platform called Masterworks, you can access one of the hottest markets on earth, fine art. Masterworks is securitizing the exclusive art market, which allows you to add this resilient asset class to your investment portfolio. And right now, Masterworks is giving listeners priority access to their exciting offerings. Go to the website, masterworks.io/exam to get started now. Masterworks.io/exam. Visit masterworks.io/exam and start investing today. See important disclaimers at masterworks.io/disclaimer. Individual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Invest wisely.
You're listening to Sirius XM Radio.
Build that better? Maybe later, maybe much later, but certainly not looking like this year. Chad Burger on the latest developments on that whole spending package that is still vehemently debated with the Democratic Party. Chad, where do we stand on this?
Good afternoon, Neil. A hat trick of blows for Democrats. It became clear Democrats lacked the support of Joe Manchin to pass the social spending bill this year, so President Biden pulled the plug for a few weeks. The Senate parliamentarian ruled immigration provisions out of order for this special budget bill, and despite efforts by the president, Democrats lacked the votes to alter the filibuster in order to pass voting rights. The left is mad, many at Manchin.
Keep it up next week. Let's hear as long as it takes. And we gotta get started in the fight on climate change in a big way. And that's what's in the mailbag bill. So, as long as it takes, I'm here.
But the legislative eyes of Democrats appear to be larger than their political stomach, especially in a 50-50 Senate.
The progressive appears surrounding the position they're in, and that they've done their work. From their perspective, they want that what they were promised.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell held a victory lap press conference once it was clear Democrats had to tank their agenda for the year. McConnell embraced the resistance of Manchin.
We do appreciate the fact that he seems to be one of the few remaining centrists left in the Democratic Party. I don't think you were here during the Obama years. We had way more moderate Democrats when Barack Obama was president than we do today. They seem to have all gone hard left. Joe has resisted that, and I admire him for it.
The triple whammy made Thursday the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day for Democrats. 2022 could be no better. The bill grew stale the longer it sits in the summer.
Chad Burger, thank you, my friend. To O'Connor when he makes it back to California, Democratic Congressman, kind enough to join us. Congressman, good to see you again. Is it out this year? Is it not going to happen this year?
No, I don't think it'll happen this year, but we need to get it done. We need to have a vote on it one way or the other. Let's have the vote in January, and let's move on. I think if we bring a vote, there's a good chance that people will vote yes when it's actually on the floor.
All right, in the Senate, that means that Joe Manchin or Kristen Sinema would vote for it. You're confident they would. They don't seem of that mindset now, but forced with the issue, you think they would?
I'm not confident. I mean, obviously, it's up to them, but I think if the president comes out and says, look, this is the agreement I had, this was the framework, I looked people in the eye, and I got the House to vote for it, and I had 50 senators, I need to do this to lower healthcare costs, lower prescription drug costs, lower childcare costs. I think there's a good chance he needs to make the case. We need to have a vote, and that's, I think, the way forward.
All right, a lot of people look at that and say, even within your own party, sir, they hope it never comes to fruition because the popular support right now isn't there. And that what is there is a growing concern about inflation and what appears to be the inability of the administration to do anything about it. What do you see?
There's a lot of popular support for the policy. I mean, people want prescription drugs costs go down. That will tackle inflation. People want to have child care costs go down. People want to make sure that they have assistance with rent, where rent is going up. So I actually think this puts more money in the working
There are more people paying for that than getting anything out of that, right? Isn't that the essence of inflation?
No, I mean, I think this bill, you're right, is paid for, and that's why it won't have an inflationary pressure. You're not going to have more treasury bonds like the Fed.
It isn't paid for, right?
It is paid for. I mean, it's paid for by a tax on people making over $10 million. It's paid for by making sure
But it is even allowing for that, Congressman. It's about $367 billion shy in revenues over 10 years. Now that could change, but conversely, some of its more popular features, when the CBO was asked to crunch the numbers, if they weren't phased out in 1, 2, or 3 years, as many of them are, this is actually going to be a $5 trillion measure, not a $2 trillion measure. What do you say?
Well, you can't do a hypothetical and do something that the Republicans aren't supporting. I mean, it's a one-year bill. That's like saying, why don't we have a 10-year score for a defense budget? I mean, this is for a one-year bill, and the CBO has scored it properly. Now, there is a legitimate question, right? So, I mean, you're quite right. We've done this in Republican administrations as well. But if you're talking about very popular programs, and you say that some of these features are quite popular, what Congress would let them phase out in 1, 2, and 3 years. So what's wrong with asking the CBO, just in case the Congress doesn't do that? What are we left with? And that's what the CBO came up with. Neil, it's a reasonable question, and here's what would be fair. If you could get me 10 Republicans who are willing to vote for the child tax credit, I'd say, okay, they have an argument that it's permanent. But here's what's hypocritical. You can't have the Republicans not give a single vote for these programs and in the same breath claim that they're going to be permanent. Everyone knows that's not true. I mean, do you believe really that if the Republicans take over, they're going to continue these programs? So I don't think they can speak from both sides of their mouth on the issue.
All right, well, you raise a good point, but obviously they would be very popular. They would meet resistance trying to get rid of those. So, you could argue back and forth as to how easy that would be to just dispense with this. But let's say it never happens, Congressman. This never comes to passage. There are some in your party who are saying, so be it. It would be better to fight the fight of dealing with inflation and getting the handle on that, hoping whatever the Federal Reserve is doing will work. And that will have far more of an impact next year in the midterms than anything else. What do you say?
I disagree with that. I think what will have impact is if we lower prescription drug costs, we put more money in the hands of the working class, and we give kids in this country preschool and lower those costs for families. But I think what we need to remind people of is what we've done. The American Rescue Plan, stimulus checks for everyone, the child tax credit, the infrastructure bill. For the first time, people have been talking about infrastructure we delivered. So this is obviously something we need to do with Build Back Better, but we've already had a successful year.
But finally, I've gotten into this before, Congressman, we didn't have any of those features, in our law prior, certainly to the pandemic, when we got as low as 3.5% unemployment. So we were doing gangbusters without any of these features there. You could make the argument that even the mere talk of this and these benefits are reasons enough for people maybe not to apply for jobs, maybe not to find alternatives to the government. What do you say?
Yeah, I just don't think the data bears that out, and the unemployment rate is low. But I agree with you. These features, these benefits weren't there, but that's why I think working class benefits are
what I said, right? Sorry, we were at 3.5% unemployment. I'm talking pre-pandemic. So yeah, we had a history going back without any of this stuff, doing quite well.
Well, but we are now almost at 4%. But here's the thing. I believe the working class has had the short end of the stick for the last 40 years. I think their prescription drug costs have been too high. I think their child care costs have been too high. Their health care costs have been too high. You're right. These weren't there. They haven't been there for 40 years. It's time we start delivering for the working class. And that's what really this bill is about.
All right. So you think it will come to pass next year?
I think there is a very strong probability it comes to pass, but the way to do it is to force a vote. I don't think we should have interminable conversations. January, let's vote on it, and then let's move on.
It's a good point. Just go ahead and just attempt to vote, see where we stand, and put the chips forward in there. Congressman, have a wonderful holiday. Good seeing you again.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
All right, in the meantime, we are following the back and forth right now on what's going on the ground. We told you in the latest news, New York City has canceled 4 of its planned Christmas shows today. They're on a wait-and-see approach for the next few days. This is among the busiest times for Radio City and this iconic show that might not go on. Stay with us. You're watching Fox Business.
Bust your hump every day to earn money to cover your mortgage, bills, and your lifestyle. Why not quit that job with rollover money? Passive income that keeps rolling in so you can hit the snooze button and just roll over. Do it with Income Property. It's the #1 way to build wealth. Clayton Morris, president and owner of Morris Invest, and his team of experts build new rental properties in prime locations. They rent it out and manage it all for you. His team handles everything. You just sit back and collect rent checks. Now, it's easy to own Income Property with none of the headaches. 70% of their clients are repeat customers, and 80% refer their friends and family. With an ROI of 17 to 20% internal rate of return and a very low minimum investment, you can build long-term passive income. Get started today with a free personalized investing plan. Just click the book a free call button at morrisinvest.com to get started today. That's morrisinvest.com.
And paid for by Open Truck Concepts. Attention firefighters, members of the military, and airport workers. For decades, first responders and firefighters at military bases and airports used a chemical-based foam to fight fires. Studies have shown that chemicals used to make aqueous film-forming foam, or AFFF, are highly toxic to humans and have been associated with several types of cancer. If you or someone you know was exposed to AFFF and were diagnosed with any of these cancers, including kidney, bladder, prostate, pancreatic, lymphoma, leukemia, testicular, and neuroendocrine, then you should call us immediately because you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Call us at 800-868-0379. Our experienced attorneys will fight to get you the compensation you deserve, and you pay nothing unless we get a recovery in your favor. Time is limited to file a claim, so call us now. 800-868-0379. Operators are standing by 24/7, so don't wait. 800-868-0379. That's 800-868-0379. Again, 800-868-0379.
Sometimes one thing leads to another thing. A look leads to a touch becomes a caress, and before you know it, it's on. When that moment comes, the last thing you want to be thinking is, am I ready? With Roman, you can take care of it discreetly. So when the moment comes, you're not stuck crossing your fingers. Just go to GetRoman.com to schedule a free online visit with a U.S. licensed healthcare professional. It takes less than 15 minutes. If you're prescribed, Roman will ship your medication in discreet, unlabeled packaging with free 2-day delivery. You'll get refills on autopilot, and you can easily pause or cancel your plan anytime. The fact is, 52% of men will experience ED in their lifetime, and that doesn't mean it has to slow you down. Visit GetRoman.com/healthy today to learn about treatments and offers like doses starting at just $2. That's GetRoman.com/healthy. The next time it's on, be more than ready. Be Roman ready.
Hi, I'm Joe Perillo with Perillo Motor Cars. We know many of you are searching for just that right luxury vehicle. That's why I want to tell you about JoePerillo.com. At JoePerillo.com, you can browse our huge selection of curated luxury vehicles. JoePerillo.com is based in Chicago, but we ship cars all over the country. Check out JoePerillo.com. That's Joe Perillo, Perillo, or dial 312 BMW 1111. That's 312 BMW 1111. 312 BMW 1111.
Get a front row seat to Turning Point USA's America Fest with Fox Nation. Watch critical speeches from top conservative voices, including some of your Fox favorites. Use promo code America30 to get your 30-day free trial of Fox Nation. America Fest 2021 starts Saturday. Sign up at foxnation.com.
Their reputation, their insight, your advantage.
You don't just cover financial news, we anticipate.
Barron's Roundtable, Fridays, only on Fox Business. Brought to you by Invesco QQQ. Become an agent of innovation. Invesco Distributors Incorporated.
All right, a lot of attention right now on Omicron and how serious an issue that could be for a global economy right now, where we're seeing restrictions being imposed pretty much everywhere, even in the city in which I reside right now. Our Deputy Angelos has been looking at this and how you were feeling about all of this. Joins us right now. Check.
That's exactly right. Good to see you, Neil. And of course, we have new data out of this Fox Business poll, and this is fresh data, specifically with respect to COVID. Now, the president campaigned on battling the coronavirus nearly 2 years into the pandemic, and roughly a year after the first vaccinations, well, only 8% of voters say that the pandemic is completely under control. That's the exact same percentage as a year ago this month. And remember who was in the Oval Office then. And take a look at this, how voters feel about Biden's job approval on key issues. Coronavirus is typically where he does best, and that's still the case here, but he's lost ground on this issue over the last few months. Right now, 47% of voters approve, 49% disapprove. Those are his worst marks on the pandemic to date, and a far cry from where he was back in the spring. Then you see on other topics, only a little bit more than a third of voters approve of Biden's handling of the economy, taxes, crime, government spending, and immigration. That's a lot of issues where there's falling confidence. Now, overall, his job performance, his ratings, they're falling too, and he knows it because he joked about it with Jimmy Fallon last week. Here you can see that half of voters approve of the President Biden's job. That number hit a low of 44% last month. And it's not really a shock as coronavirus cases are back on the rise and the Democrats' massive spending bill is still out there, and as we worry about the supply chain and inflation as well. Now, we talked about how inflation is the number one issues that voters are worried about, but this is interesting. Look at this. Crime rates continue to soar across the country, and almost 8 in 10 registered voters, they are extremely or very concerned about the surge in crime, 77%. Now, voters were asked what they thought was causing that crime rate to go up, and they said that it was the breakdown of moral values. That was the highest ranked reason cited, while weaker criminal penalties was number 2. This was interesting. Only 12% said that they thought defunding the police was to blame. I thought that percentage would be higher.
It's interesting. We have a lot of words right now, and we're getting frustrated. Jackie, thank you very, very much. My next guest is getting frustrated by these vaccine mandates that we've had from National Guardsmen and women, and he wants to do something about it, and he, along with 4 other governors, are doing just that. I'm talking about the Wyoming Governor, Mark Gordon, kind enough to join us right now. Governor, this National Guard vaccine mandate is what got you guys going, right? What do you want to do about that?
Well, thanks, Neil. And actually, this is kind of the trend we've seen out of this administration is overreach. And our country, right from its founding, was established with guard units that were descendants from militia units that we put together. You cannot have Washington dictating how units, which are under the state's control, are going to discipline and discharge their folks. We do understand Title 10, but under Title 32, the states aren't having that jurisdiction. My fellow governors have brought that point to the Secretary.
Have you heard back from the Secretary on this?
We have not yet. I think the point we made, Article 1, Section 8, really does reserve its rights to the commanders-in-chief of the individual National Guard units. And so I think we're on very firm legal ground here, very firm constitutional ground, and that has also been reaffirmed by the Supreme Court.
Is it complicated, Governor, about what's happening with Omicron and its rapid spread across the world, and so many, businesses now that have tightened up their own vaccination requirements or even urge workers to go back to working from home? In other words, that this backdrop is hurting your push, not helping it.
Well, what I'd say, Neil, is that Wyoming is a Republican state. I'm a conservative. We feel very strongly about it. Businesses to run their affairs as they see fit. We feel very strongly about the rights of individuals and employees. We don't want to dictate those things. And we believe that people using judgment and being responsible really are our best pushback against this virus. Personally, I believe in vaccines, but I'm sure it's not a mandate.
Do you think it's irresponsible for someone who's not vaccinated, forget about the mandates, to stay that way, to not get that vaccine in this environment?
What we've asked is that people take appropriate precautions. We know that you can stay distance. We know that you can wear a face mask when you're in a crowded area. We know that hygiene is absolutely important. I don't want to direct anybody to take a vaccine. They don't feel it's correct. And at this point, we're starting to get more and more data. We're starting to see variations on the virus, and I think it's up to people to make their own choices in this matter.
Mr. Governor, great catching up with you. Let me tell you, have a Merry Christmas. I'm safe with that. Mark Gordon, the governor of Wyoming, will keep track of what he and some other governors trying to do to cool it on this mandate stuff, especially for National Guards. And in the meantime here, we are also watching developments concerning TikTok here. Something on that site that's scaring a lot of parents and prompting them not to have their kids go to school today. What is it?
Violent crime on the rise across the country. Life is more dangerous than ever. It's time for safer self-defense with Taser, the perfect non-lethal sidekick to your self-defense arsenal. Taser's energy weapons can stop threats before, during, and after you pull the trigger. Designed for home defense, your daily commute, and everywhere you need to keep your family safe. Take the Taser Pulse Plus. From 15 feet away, it can lock up an attacker's muscles for up to 30 seconds, so you can escape safely. And when paired with your phone, the Taser Pulse Plus alerts emergency dispatchers with your GPS location as soon as you pull the trigger. And when you have to fire yours, Taser will replace it for free. Get the same Taser technology trusted by police officers across the country since 1993, giving you the confidence to pull the trigger in safer self-defense. Get Taser Pulse Plus today and save 15% when you go to taser.com and enter promo code VOXBUSINESS. Spelled TASER.com, promo code VOXBUSINESS. Supplies are limited. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
I love my X chair. I don't like it, I love it. It is by far the most comfortable chair I've ever owned, and honestly, it's probably the coolest piece of furniture in my office. What makes it so great? It's got this thing called DVL, and I think that stands for Dynamic Variable Lumbar. What I know is that it supports my back like no chair I've ever had before. And it even has this Elemax technology, which has 4 different massage options, and I can like cool or warm my back. So I've never had a chair that can do things like that. And I don't know about you, but I'm splitting my time these days between my home office and my traditional office, my old office. And if you're doing that too, take my advice. Get an X chair for each, because once you've sat in an X chair and felt the difference for yourself, trust me, you're not going to want to sit in another office chair again.
Buy early, buy now, buy while supplies last. Go to xchairoffice.com now. That's the letter X, chairoffice.com for $100 off your order. X-Chair is the 30-day guarantee of complete comfort, and you can finance your purchase for as little as $30 a month. xchairoffice.com.
With inflation at a 30-year high and COVID variants shaking up the markets, demand for alternative assets is surging. Did you know that one of the most sought-after investments by those looking for long-term growth with low volatility is fine art? That's right, fine art. Why? Contemporary art prices appreciated 14% annually from 1995 to 2020, outpacing the S&P 500 index.
They would have found that in Baltimore.
The ultra-wealthy continue to add art to their investment portfolios, and for the first time ever, you can too. With a new fintech platform called Masterworks, you can access one of the hottest markets on earth, fine art. Masterworks is securitizing the exclusive art market, which allows you to add this resilient asset class to your investment portfolio. Right now, Masterworks is giving listeners priority access to their exciting offerings. Go to the website, masterworks.io/XM to get started now. Masterworks.io/XM. Visit masterworks.io/XM and start investing today. See important disclaimers at masterworks.io/disclaimer.
Individual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Invest wisely.
It's your money. You can't afford to miss a moment of Fox Business, so scan the code on your screen and download the free Fox Business app. Back with breaking stories, smart insight, and the market's latest moves.
Fox Business Alert without 6 people. What's up and down here?
The Fox Business app puts it all in the palm of your hand. Wherever you go, you can stay in the know. Download the Fox Business app from your app store or scan the QR code on screen now.
We never looked at that. They never looked at start.
Across the country,
They never looked at start. They've been through all kinds of qualifications. Nobody ever looked at start.
Everything to do with something that emerged on TikTok that has them very scared. David Lee Miller with more on that. David Lee, what's going on? Well, Neil, it's yet to be determined exactly what role TikTok has had in this controversy. We're going to get to that in a moment. But perhaps more importantly, the Department of Homeland Security is saying that these viral messages posted on social media sites warning
there is no fix. You're going to have to take the board back down to earth.
Are not believed to be
10K resistor, 5K resistor, whatever you guys feel like.
Educators and law enforcement. Underscoring that in Corona, California, a 14-year-old boy has been arrested for threatening an attack. Police say a search of his home found no weapons, and they believe that he acted alone. Some schools citing an abundance of caution have canceled classes, and that's what happened in Gilroy, California, where final exams have been rescheduled for next month. Other school districts say police have increased patrols. According to reports, many of these threats, as you mentioned, originated on TikTok. The site recently came under criticism for videos challenging students to vandalize school buildings. But the company, just a short time ago, issued an updated statement saying, and I quote, "We exhaustively searched for content that promotes violence in schools today, but have still found nothing. But we find videos discussing this rumor and warning others to stay safe." The statement then goes on to say, quoting again, "We're working to remove alarmist warnings that violate our misinformation policy." And here in New York City, the Department of Education is asking parents to tell their children about the consequences of making threats on social media that could jeopardize what it calls their bright futures. The police commissioner in Nassau County, New York, is warning that anyone with access to the internet can create fear. You take a stock photo of a weapon, you put that onto a post, and then you write underneath it, "I got guns, I'm going to shoot up the school." According to a cybersecurity expert, kids that are arrested for making threats online often have the same response. They say simply, "I was only joking." One disturbing statistic from that same expert, 75% of school shooters post their intentions online. Neil? Yeah, you can well understand why parents would be anxious about that. David Lee Miller, thank you for watching, David. All right, in the meantime, you've heard about the selling going on Wall Street today, but a lot of this was telegraphed by a lot of very rich guy billionaires selling a lot of stuff in recent weeks. In fact, they're trying to double what it was a year ago. They say for tax purposes. We'll say something else about that.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Marani. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of Trustlink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest #1 national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
What's all the buzz about nasal irrigation and lavage? And should I try it? Here's the science. Airborne germs invade through your nose. It's the body's air filter for trapping allergens and viruses. When your nose gets clogged, it's less effective and germs multiply. Eventually, your immune system can get overwhelmed and you get sick. Nasal irrigation is an effective, all-natural way to clean your nose. It's not a drug. It's more like plumbing. Saline goes in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and germs. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage to make cleaning your nose easy. It's the world's only nose cleaner with powered suction. Navage pulls out the bad stuff so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and feel healthier. At Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, Bed Bath, and Walmart. Or go to Navage.com for a free gift with purchase. Over 2 million sold. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
It's the worldwide. I tell you all the time, why dream when you can live it. And that's why now we have an amazing partnership with Echelon to make sure and to help everybody out there make their fitness dreams a reality.
I'm getting motivated, I'm getting inspired every day, baby. Now, Echelon is fitness affordable for everyone. So, no more excuses. Take your stress and turn it into sweat. Reinvent yourself into the new you that you've always wanted to be. Now, take it from yours truly, Mr. Gil Fabulous and Mr. Worldwide. Let me and Echelon bring your fitness dreams to reality. What I dream, you can live it. You already know. I don't know about you, but I feel good. I don't know about you, but I feel good. That's right.
Yeah. And right now, for a limited time, radio listeners get up to $800 off MSRP. To get this Echelon exclusive radio discount, text BOX to 818181. Text BOX to 818181 to get up to $800 off MSRP. That's FOX to 818181.
At Florida Cancer Specialists, we provide world-class care close to home. Because when you're fighting cancer in these unprecedented times, you need the most advanced treatments, national clinical trials, and 24/7 access to an oncology care manager. We have a single-minded focus on the safety of our patients, as well as our courageous physicians, nurses, and staff members. And we're with you every step of the way. More at flcancer.com.
To Sirius XM Radio.
They say they're doing it for tax purposes or because they have some options coming up, stock awards coming up, but the fact of the matter is the very, very range from Elon Musk to the founders of Google to Mark Zuckerberg, they've been selling a lot of stock, running at double the pace it was a year ago, almost $40 billion worth. And you have to wonder what's going on here. Are they doing it again for tax purposes and all the rest, or do they see trouble down the road? Charlie Gasparino's been looking into all that. Joins us now.
Well, I don't know Elon Musk's broker or Zuckerberg's broker. I'm sure they got somebody in. I do know a lot of high net worth brokers who deal with people who are generally, I would say they manage people you have to have at least $3 million to get these guys services. What they're telling me,
much money to you.
Yeah, of course. 3 million here, 3 million there. But they're saying it's not all tax reasons. There's a lot going on here. We have tax reasons as one reason, layered on top of the fact that the Fed is tightening. Another reason where you sort of, it's good to take some winnings off these stocks that are very correlated with high interest rates, that they go down, negatively correlated, I should say. That's one reason. Just the Biden administration. Now, this could be positive for stocks, just so you know. Build Back Better is being delayed, right? Indefinitely, maybe never. If Joe Manchin holds his ground, that's probably a net positive if it doesn't happen for stocks, because people are worried about capital gains, so they're starting to take their capital gains now while the rate is lower. If Build Back Better comes back, it'll be obviously much higher.
But that doesn't mean the Federal Reserve doesn't do what it intends to do.
Yeah, now, so you put all this together, and you start getting worried. And there's a lot of, and plus, remember, one of the things that happens when the Fed raises rates is that it pricks bubbles in the market. And the first bubbles that get pricked are the stocks that ran up. So you see the NASDAQ trading off because all those tech names sort of ran up dramatically, right? You see Bitcoin trading off a little bit, although it's come back, right? And you see, and the one thing that sort of is defying sort of gravity right now is AMC. I don't know if you saw what's going on at AMC. It was up almost 20% today on one movie doing well.
Why did I say about it? Because I know you don't. What's Spider-Man? Yeah, but it's tangled web. This industry leads.
It's you're very illiterate. But it's one movie.
Yes, I know. One movie. They can fill those seats. Right?
But the problem is, all the other movies aren't. They can even go to the interesting column today about how no one wants to go to that new Still for their money. But in the old days, it was for every movie.
You didn't get with the you're anti-anime people.
I thought people watch streaming. Now, they don't go to a pale popcorn crisp. Or you get the deluxe one.
No, I had to make it right. I see. I didn't notice the AMC thing. Is that in response to these lava crowds?
Look at this. Someone gave me the stock price. This is like amazing because it defies the rationale I just gave you. Now, maybe you won't defy the rationale. It's up 21% today. That's like insane.
But you know what they're not doing out of this is because, you've heard of Radio City is going to cancel 4 shows today because of, COVID cases, and I guess among the answers, right? But now, it's the same thing. Are people getting skittish about going to theaters? Then you might
suppose Omicron, am I saying it right? Omicron?
Whatever.
However you say it. Suppose it turns out to be a cold, which it looks like it is.
I know that the worst you get out of it are these cold-like symptoms.
This is a huge overreaction. You get a bounce back. But, the fundamentals...
The uncertainty that's weighing.
Right. I think the bigger problem, in the medium term, is the Fed. Now, Jerome Powell says 3 rate increases, tapering faster. That's still not aggressively hawkish. If he is forced to do more because inflation is even worse than he's suggesting, then you could see these trades. I mean, these are the trades that will spin off. Sell some of these NASDAQ stocks that are very...
The other thing even though he argues, is that he thinks this is still transitory.
I don't think he knows what he's doing. And, the problem with him is he was never a trained economist. And some of these guys dig themselves in. Like, it's hard to reverse out of this is transitory on a dime. You have to sort of like work your way out of it.
But he's kind of unshackled now, right? He's got another 4-year lease in that job unless the Senate rejects him. That doesn't seem possible. So he can be emboldened to act on inflation right now.
And he should be, but no one can figure out why he's not. Again,
do you think he's the one really holding this market down?
Listen, here's the thing. I think that if Jerome Powell acts precipitously, we will get a sell-off in the market that precludes a huge sell-off going forward. If he acts precipitously and pricks the meme stock bubble, maybe Bitcoin, whatever, and some of these other stocks, and gets his hands around,
never able to do a soft landing.
Yeah, to get some of the fluff out of the market and inflation. He won't have to do something drastic this time next year. That's the worry.
Let me ask you real quickly. He started raising interest rates and picking up during the last midterm, and by continuing to raise rates, got the ire of Donald Trump. Do you think, had he not unwound those, it's very easy to play Monday morning quarterback, we'd be in this pickle?
Well, you probably wouldn't have to do as much quantitative easing, which is a heavy-handed way of just printing money. You may have been able to play with the Fed funds rate.
Well, in other words, while he was criticized at the time for that, in retrospect, it might have been...
He should have held fast. And by the way, one other thing here to throw in is, the reason why we see volatile swings, and I've got to keep reminding people this, you should be a long-term investor if you believe in stocks. It's because of algorithms. These things hit levels and everybody trades every hedge fund in the world.
Long-term is not for me. Dinner tonight, that's long-term.
And you.
All right, Charlie Gatsby, thank you very, very much. Ignore what he said about going to the movie theater. Mr. Week isn't here.
I'll do some streaming.
Yeah, I bet you will. All right, stay with us.
Sirius XM All Nation is commercial-free sound of something different. Do different your way with app-only versions of All Nation, including all 2K hits, 2010s alt rock hits, and nothing but today's top alternative songs on All Nation Top Hits. Hear these and more anytime, anywhere on the SXM app. Individual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Invest wisely.
I want to talk to you about cryptocurrency. Did you know that if you invested $10 in Bitcoin in 2010, it would be worth over $400,000 in January 2021? Crypto could represent the future of money, but it can be intimidating. And what about taxes? Well, with an Alto Crypto IRA, you can trade crypto like Bitcoin and avoid or defer the taxes. You can create an account in just minutes and invest with as little as $10 with no setup charges and no account fees. There are over 80 coins available, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano. Make a cash contribution or transfer cash from an existing IRA. Invest just $10 today. Who knows what it could be worth in 10 years? Ready to take your investments to the next level? Diversify like the pros and trade without tax headaches. Open an Alto Crypto IRA with as little as $10. Just go to altoira.com/market. That's altoira.com/market. Start investing in cryptocurrency today. Go to altoira.com/market.
key. Trading involves financial risk and is not suitable for all investors. Past results do not guarantee future performance. By texting demo, you agree to the terms available at VantagePointSoftware.com/disclaimer and consent to receive calls and text using automated technology or pre-recorded voice event offers or info by or on behalf of VantagePoint. Your consent is not a condition of purchase and can be revoked at any time. Message and data rates may apply.
Traders, listen up. With volatility, earnings data, and inflation concerns, it's almost impossible to guess what the markets will do next. With VantagePoint, you don't have to. Want to see how the smartest traders pick their stocks? Text the word DEMO to 813-813 to learn how our AI analyzes millions of data points per day. Text the word DEMO to 813-813 and learn to predict stock market trends up to 3 days ahead with incredible accuracy. Whether you trade stocks, options, forex, futures, or crypto, VantagePoint's patented artificial intelligence can give you a massive edge. Text DEMO to 813-813 and learn how to protect your capital and maximize gains. Don't wait. Text DEMO to 813-813.
Hi, I'm Joe Perillo with Perillo Motor Cars. We know many of you are searching for just that right luxury vehicle. That's why I want to tell you about JoePerillo.com. At JoePerillo.com, you can browse our huge selection of curated luxury vehicles. JoePerillo.com is based in Chicago, but we ship cars all over the country. Check out JoePerillo.com. That's Joe Perillo, Perillo, or dial 312 BMW 1111. That's 312 BMW 1111. 312 BMW 1111.
Too many patients, unfortunately, have lost their lives by not having access to targeted cancer treatment. Most patients do not know all of their options. Invita's precision immunotherapy, genomics, and non-invasive surgery are working to protect and extend lives. I'm Dr. Dino Prado, and I personally welcome you to utilize our Precision Second Opinion and discover if Invita is right for you. Visit us at Invita.com, ENVITA.com.
All right, the sell-off continues. This is still a positive month for the Dow, that's via NASDAQ, but today, taking a bit of a drubbing on top of yesterday and the concerns that you've heard a great deal about. Inflation, where does it stop? Is the Fed really ahead of the curve on this? But it's Omicron that's getting a lot of attention right now and uncertainty about how far and wide this spreads and whether we are going to go back into some sort of restrictions or even lockdowns as a result. Probably getting ahead of ourselves here, but you know the old maxim on Wall Street, sell first, ask questions later. But what's going on in the bond market has gotten my attention, perhaps more than what's going on in the stock market, because if you're worried about inflation, you would think you'd start seeing a back up in rates. Just the opposite is the 10-year note is now under 1.40%. We were at around 1.7%. I have to double check that with our Charlie Brady. He keeps track of all these developments, our market, stock cheddar, you name it. But we're down weight from that. So again, that could be presaging a slowdown or whatever. But again, a lot of folks don't know where the markets are going. We do know that a lot of folks just are nervous, period. And it's popping up in some interesting poll numbers that we've got at Fox Business. Edward Lawrence at the White House to sort through some of the more telling ones. Edward. Yeah, exactly. And you know how you do that job performance review kind of at the end of the year there? Well, registered voters did that for President Joe Biden in the form of this new Fox Business poll. And we're showing you something very interesting in this poll is that the president's disapproval rating on issues from the economy to migration, immigration, well over 50%. I was handling on the coronavirus, it's 49% disapproved, 47% approved. But look closer at some of the other spreads here. I was handling on the economy, 38% approved, while 59% disapproved, and that is spread at 21 points. Whereas handling on crime, the spread is 21 points with 57 disapproving, 57%. Now, when you look at government spending and immigration, the disapproval jumps to 59%. So Republicans say Americans see no light at the end of the tunnel. And this Republican Representative Smith, he says basically Americans are struggling. You can see it at the gas pump. You can see it in a number of areas. Now, the Fox Business poll goes on to say that 84% of registered voters are somewhat or very concerned about inflation. 8 in 10 believe the pandemic is responsible for it. However, of those, 78% of those voters also believe government spending and regulations led to that inflation. The White House saying that they are staying the course on these policies.
He turned around a failing COVID response and a sputtering economy, and he's taking strong action to address the financial challenges that Americans care about the most. His leadership and bills, and those bills now resulted in unprecedented economic recovery that is the envy of the world.
Yeah, but still looking at those poll numbers and not changing anything. However, today the White House is acknowledging that they will not get that social spending package done this year. In fact, the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki saying she looks forward to passing it in January. Back to you. All right, Edward, thank you for that. Edward Lawrence at the White House. Now, my buddy Jerry Willis following what the expectations are to deal with inflation itself. So we've locked into a lot of set rate increases.
That's right, but the way they flow through to consumers, well, it might not be what you expect. Look, if you're unhappy with the higher prices you're seeing for everything from meat to cars, well, just wait. More increases are on the way, and you can thank the Federal Reserve. Listen.
When you go up in 2022, and the reason why is because the economy is getting better. But to borrowers in particular, this is just going to be another form of inflation, seeing higher interest rate costs on your existing debts as well as any new borrowing.
So the impacts are different across different products. For example, the price of charging it will rise, but not immediately. Typically, it takes 30 to 45 days, well, roughly the length of a billing cycle, for credit card rates to reflect hikes by the Federal Reserve. In other words, if the Fed stays true to what it said Wednesday, the 16% average credit card rate could be 16.75% by the end of the year. One option, of course, 0% offers. That's according to McBride. But when it comes to mortgages, the impacts are different. Rates run ahead of the Fed. In other words, if the market is expecting higher rates, then mortgage rates tend to move higher. In the coming year, economic headlines and inflation news will have a bigger impact on mortgage rates, which, well, typically follow the long bond. Even so, at 3.25% on average, rates are historically low, people. If you haven't already refied, consider doing so and shop around. Banks are competing mightily for customers because refi activity all but dropped off. Now, when it comes to savings, McBride recommends inflation-indexed securities, which you can buy as a mutual fund or ETF. He also likes high bonds. You buy them directly from treasurydirect.gov. They are inflation-indexed savings bonds. If you believe, Neil, that inflation is continuing higher and maybe the economy is going to expand even more.
Yeah, and there's certainly ample signs of that as a possibility. Jerry, thank you very much. I'm here to pursue that side of the story, Lydia, because when it comes to spending on travel, we're all gung-ho to still do that. And the crowd in the sky is prudent. Lydia, what do you got?
Yeah, we're at Newark International Airport, Neil. It's one of the airports from across the country that is piloting a new reservation program for the security lines just in time for the spike in travel during this holiday season. And the best part, in my opinion, is that the program is free. Here's how it works. 72 hours in advance of a departure, passengers can make a reservation or an appointment for their security line. So when they arrive here at Newark, you can see just over my right shoulder, the left side of your screen, here's a sign that says all passengers. That is the security line for everyone. But over here on the other side, there's a line that says virtual line. That's for folks that have an appointment and it takes them straight up to the TSA officer so they don't have to wait in that long and winding line. After the officer screens the credentials, everyone goes through the screening process, takes out their shoes and their electronics, etc. So far, the officials here at Newark say this pilot program is an overwhelming success.
And we've actually had a number of folks that have been waiting in the standard line, seeing folks go through the virtual line and saying, how do I get that?
So here at Newark, they're seeing that travelers are saving 15, 30, sometimes 45 minutes off of the wait time and security. Here's a look at where you can find the reservation systems in place right now. Some of these programs are still in the pilot phase, and the rules may differ from location to location, or they may be available only in select terminals. So if you're planning to try to take advantage of the system, make sure you verify well in advance that it's available for your departing flight. Now, the hope is that the reservation system will cut down on the wait time during this holiday season. The TSA is predicting travel numbers near pre-pandemic levels for the rest of the month, despite Omicron. For example, Neil, yesterday, the TSA screened more than 2 million travelers. That's more than 83% of the travel numbers seen in 2019 before the pandemic. So that's an indication of what's to come during Christmas. It's still more than a week away. Airports are probably going to get very busy. And just to be clear, for frequent travelers, Neil, the TSA still recommends that the TSA pre-check is the most efficient and time-saving way to move through security. This reservation pilot program is suggested for the infrequent traveler, perhaps people that are traveling just now during the holiday season. Back to you.
Yeah, be prepared for those crowds. Lydia, thank you very, very much. So that says something about the strength of the economy on that people, even in the face of higher prices and more pains and traveling and all the rest, are still willing and eager to do it. What to make of that with Mark Batson, the Batson Money founder and CEO, Ethan Herzog, retail watcher, H Squared Research. Mark, what do you think what's going on at airports, what's going on at a lot of stores, what is that telling us about the consumer?
Well, I'm looking long-term here for the consumer and for the investor, and I see three really detrimental issues. Supply chain disruptions, which are terrible. Unemployment, we actually have more jobs available than people actually willing to take them. And unemployment will hold back the economy. And then, of course, what everybody's worried about is inflation. And inflation is particularly heinous because it's a tax on the middle class. All the things that they need to live their life go up and up and up. Their real standard of living goes down at the same time. What's an investor to do? Number one, do not own long-term bonds. They have high volatility and interest rates go up. This inflation is not, people say, is it transitory, which is a fancy word for just temporary. It's already not transitory. It's already long-term. The question is, how much worse does it get? How long does it last? And so you want to have short-term bonds. You want to have high-quality bonds. And long-term, you want to own equities, but you have to diversify them. Historically, inflation at 3% and stocks at 10%. It's a tricky time to be an investor and a consumer.
But for consumers, they're buying, and they're buying a lot. And even though the price of a lot of the goods they're buying have risen in price a lot. What do you make of that?
I mean, Mark has a point. Yes, inflation is, in his terms, a tax on the middle class. But at the same time, we have spent the last 2 years plus living in a state of frugal fatigue. People want to go out and shop. I mean, you look at the numbers that are going out, that are coming in from the airport, I guess I should say, that Lydia had just reported. Those people have to go out and travel. They want to give gifts. The Data Catalyst Institute has reported that 79% of small businesses use standalone stores, in-person stores, as their number one way of selling. So these are the stores, these small businesses, they're open, they want people to come visit. Sure, we have this bifurcation of big box retailers and department stores, but the small businesses are the ones that need the business, and quite frankly are the ones who are willing to go the extra mile to get those dollars in their pockets.
When I look at this, guys, and Mark, maybe to help me out with this, I see a market that is responding to these inflationary pressures by selling off, but a bond market that seems to think that there's more of a slowdown to worry about than any inflation, or is it both? What do you think?
Well, I think it's both at the same time. I can remember back to the times of Jimmy Carter when we had both stagflation, which means a recession, and inflation at the same time. And look, investors have to be really careful right now, not get sucked in by big tech companies. Those things have had massive growth, could have massive falls on backside of a crash, and they have to invest internationally. It's hard to predict what's going to happen in the U.S. economy in the short run. But I can tell you one thing, this thing doesn't get solved. Yeah, the retail sales might be up, but what do you actually get to put underneath your tree? If inflation, you might be spending more, but not actually getting any more. So investors have got to look long term, and we got to take the boot off of the throat of small businesses. Capitalism, free markets, innovation, those are the things that will drive us out of a recession and eventually end inflation. But I don't see that anytime in the short run.
I'm wondering that we've been focused on inflation so much, and that we're maybe not factoring in Omicron, or not factoring in maybe the growing anxiety about being in any public places. It might not even be necessary to have these fears, because while this variant is certainly contagious, so far hasn't proved very dangerous. But what do you make of that?
I think there's certainly that fear factor, of
course, when anyone or anything introduces a new variant into the mix, people suddenly get very scared. What has happened, though, Neil, is that retailers have been sounding the alarm, especially when it comes to products, when we have this, supply chain issue that is ongoing. They've been sounding the alarm since October. So, for the most part, consumers had shopped way before. Those promotions were rolling out. So, now that we are, within 7 days of Christmas, when most of the bulk of the shopping is happening, Super Saturday is happening tomorrow, a lot of that is going to be done online. Again, Data Catalyst Institute says that 68% of small businesses have online presence, and those promotions, especially when they knew that consumers were going to be staying at home and purchasing, really came out full force in the last couple months. So the fact that there may be that Omicron variant that's going on, that's certainly fearful. I think everyone has gotten their shopping done.
Finally, Mark, how do you advise people on the markets right now? The big drubbing, certainly we've seen the NASDAQ the last couple of days. All 11 S&P 500 market sectors are down. The technology the most this week. That's not a shocker. But is it too much, or is this a preview to coming attractions? What do you tell people?
Well, I think investors always have to be prepared for a crash. They're unpredictable. You never know when they're going to happen. When they do happen, they're in the ballpark between 20% to a negative 50%. We saw that in 2008 and 2009. It's not impossible that it could happen again. So investors have to stress test your portfolio. You got to know and look historically what mix of assets you have. If the market does crash, how much of your money do you lose, and can you stand to lose that much? And you have to be strategic about it. You can't just guess. If you're just guessing, it's gambling. So, look, analyze your portfolio. Be prepared for a crash. And remember, it's never the right time to panic. If prices do go down in equities, you have to take your high-quality fixed income and buy more of them while they're down. And few people have the stomach to do that.
Yeah, we're going to just wait it out and hope everything that's okay. Mark, thank you. Etha, thank you. We'll be both have a wonderful Christmas, guys. Appreciate the insight. We are taking a much closer look at how this market fares in the weeks ahead and how we could close out the year, because that Santa Claus rally, many argue, it's still very much in place. Is it? We'll explore that after this.
It's college football bowl season. Hear the top bowl games all the way through the national championship game on Sirius XM and the SXM app.
Quick release by Grace Young. Touchdown, Alabama.
We're previewing the matchups right now on Sirius XM Channel 84 and our Power 5 Conference Channel 371 to 375.
You do not want to miss any of these bowl games.
Get the complete bowl season schedule and channel numbers at SiriusXM.com/bowl-games.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Barati. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row.
In 1/10 of a mile, make a slight right turn onto I-10 East.
Silver the right way. We don't
Make a slight right turn onto I-10 East now.
We'd rather pass that value.
Proceed on I-10 East.
Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest #1 national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best...
think over on the markets, but watch these individual names, as Victoria said, get the shopping list out, and when they pull back to say support, you got to get in there.
Obey traffic laws, be alert, and use voice commands while driving. Please proceed to the highlighted route, and then the route guidance will start.
All right, so let's talk about the last 72 hours, 48, 72 hours. We've had different narratives every single day, right? Initially, when we had the FOMC meeting, techs rocked, and then they got rocked.
Proceed on the 10 East.
Now today, cyclicals are getting slammed. Defense names showed life earlier in the session. And guess what, Victoria? Here comes tech again. I mean, first of all, a lot of people are wondering about the shelter in the storm, but more importantly, have we figured out what the Fed's going to do and what it means for the market?
No, I don't think we figured it out completely, and you see that with the discontinuity between the equity market and between the fixed income market. And so really, you need to have that balanced portfolio right now instead of trying to time that rotation perfectly. We've been trimming our growthier names when they're on up days, trimming some of those down and focusing more on cyclicals and more on value names. We've talked about consumer-facing names we liked, Target, Lululemon, Dick's Sporting Goods, but we're really focusing on the financials right now. Look over the last month, including today, and see the pullback in the financials, especially in the bank names, Bank of America, JP Morgan. You've got names here that have good balance sheets. They're cheap to the market. You look and see possibly dividend raises next year, and we do think the longer end of the curve is going to move a little bit higher to catch up with inflation expectations. I think the long end of the curve is pulling back now because of Omicron. So we would focus on some of those names.
All right, and by the way, we got a great dividend guy coming in 30 seconds, but I'm giving Scott the last word. First two things, Scott. I'm loving the fact that on the NASDAQ at least, it's the individual investor bringing back those so-called meme stocks, and now these other tech names, some you just talked about, but also gold. Gold's acting pretty intriguing, living up to its old respectable, being an alternative to inflation. Is it time to start to add some gold here?
We believe so. We've been back in gold, Charles, given the fact that gold was not acting well for most of the year. And I think that the shine was on gold then, and certainly as the inflation numbers have started to really come to pass, I think gold is finally getting its luster back, let's say. But the reason you own gold is not just because it goes on days like today, but because it's doing something different than other things in your portfolio. It's different than equities, it's different than fixed income, and hopefully different than some of your other alternatives, maybe crypto. So gold for us is a position in the portfolio, something to hold here as we try to navigate this fall. So,
and as my man William DeVane says, you can hold it in your hand and look at it. Victoria, Scott, have a great weekend. Really glad we started the show with you. Now we're going to bring it from the Monson Group to managing partner David Monson. David, you had been skeptical about the Federal Reserve hiking rates, and of course now the street sees an avalanche of rate hikes over the next 2 or 3 years. Where are you right now with respect to the Fed?
Well, what's funny is the street sees less rate hikes than the Fed itself does. And the street has been right for 13 years, and the Fed has been wrong for 13 years. They have never once met up to their actual dot plot forecast. And so if we get 2 or 3 rate hikes next year and another 3 the year after, that gets you to 125, 150 basis point Fed funds rate. That is still 100 basis points lower than pre-COVID in 2 years from now, and it's still a negative real interest rate.
Great point. Hey, the Fed seems to be serving two masters. If you listen to Powell in a press conference, it was sort of excruciating. On one hand, Wall Street and the wealth effect. The other hand, Main Street and social justice. Can they pull it off?
No, they can't, but I don't think that the challenge is that they're trying to serve both. I think it's that, I honestly think, Charles, we all know what they're trying to do, is that they have basically set up where they have this inflation and full employment mandate, and yet they have become the coddler of risk assets. And that's not just Wall Street, okay? This impacts Main Street as well. They believe in the wealth effect. I think they're wrong, but I think they genuinely believe in it. But it doesn't matter. That's what they're going to do. And they cannot have federal government debt service go up 400 basis points. It cannot happen.
Yeah,
so the Fed right now has to figure out
I was going to say, I think the last I looked, we spent $500 billion just servicing the debt. So, a much higher interest rate environment than that. It sounds nuts to me. To your point, Let me, before I let you go, because people want to know what to buy in this sort of environment, and there's a lot of anxiety. I'm fielding more calls than normal. How can investors stay in this market and also get some sleep at night?
Yeah, there were things that the prior guest said I agreed with and things I vehemently disagreed with. I just don't believe the argument that because something's down 50%, you should go in and buy it. Some of the stuff that's down 50 and 70% is going to go down 90%. There is a lot of overvalued froth in this market. So we want to focus on dividend growth that is less vulnerable to credit cycles, has a growing free cash flow to hedge against the Fed raising interest rates, and is just less volatile overall. You have a better risk profile going into next year. Dividend growth equities.
Yeah, David, I agree with you. A lot of times people say emerging markets because they're due. It just doesn't sound like the most professional thing in the world. But, a lot of people go that way. Really always appreciate your expertise, and I think people need to really look into these dividends. They should be a portion of your portfolio. Have a great weekend, my friend.
Nice you too, Charles.
So later in the show, the trial of former Slidell CEO Elizabeth Holmes is wrapping up. Here's the thing, did her tearful testimony overcome a mountain of proof otherwise? We're going to have a live report. So President Biden admitting his Christmas wish is dead as his massive Build Back Better agenda is on hold. So what happens next? I'll ask Republican Senator Mike Braun. He joins us with his reaction. We'll be right back.
Trading involves financial risk and is not suitable for all investors. Past results do not guarantee future performance. By texting demo, you agree to the terms available at VantagePointSoftware.com/disclaimer and consent to receive calls and text using automated technology or pre-recorded voice offers of info by or on behalf of VantagePoint. Your consent is not a condition of purchase and can be revoked at any time. Message and data rates may apply.
Traders, listen up. With volatility, earnings data, and inflation concerns, it's almost impossible to guess what the markets will do next. With VantagePoint, you don't have to. Want to see how the smartest traders pick their stocks? Text the word DEMO to 813-813 to learn how our AI analyzes millions of data points per day. Text the word DEMO to 813-813 and learn to predict stock market trends up to 3 days ahead with incredible accuracy. Whether you trade stocks, options, forex, futures, or crypto, VantagePoint's patented artificial intelligence can give you a massive edge. Text DEMO to 813-813 and learn how to protect your capital and maximize gains. Don't wait. Text DEMO to 813-813.
With inflation at a 30-year high and COVID variants shaking up the markets, demand for alternative assets is surging. Did you know that one of the most sought-after investments by those looking for long-term growth with low volatility is fine art? That's right, fine art. Why? Contemporary art prices appreciated 14% annually from 1995 to 2020, outpacing the S&P 500 index. With numbers like that, it's no wonder the ultra-wealthy continue to add art to their investment portfolios. And for the first time ever, you can too. With a new fintech platform called Masterworks, you can access one of the hottest markets on earth, fine art. Masterworks is securitizing the exclusive art market, which allows you to add this resilient asset class to your investment portfolio. And right now, Masterworks is giving listeners priority access to their exciting offerings. Go to the website, masterworks.io/XM to get started now. Masterworks.io/XM. Visit masterworks.io/XM and start investing today. See important disclaimers at masterworks.io/disclaimer.
Individual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Invest wisely.
Did you know over 500 million personal records were recently leaked from the world's largest social media site? Events like this put millions of people at risk of identity theft, fraud, and scams. If you think protecting yourself is too difficult or confusing, we invite you to try Aura. Aura is an easy-to-use, all-in-one digital security solution that protects your finances, identity, and devices. Aura alerts you to threats fast. If your online accounts or social security number are exposed, or if someone's trying to open a bank account in your name, we'll notify you in near real time and help you resolve the issue. For a limited time, Aura's offering an amazing deal for our listeners. Go to aura.com/foxbusiness for plans up to 40% off. That's aura.com/foxbusiness. Plus, if you visit today, Aura can even tell you if any of your online accounts or passwords have been compromised free of charge, so you can take action now. Visit aura.com/foxbusiness for up to 40% off today. That's aura.com/foxbusiness. You're listening to SiriusXM Radio.
we're looking at a reopening.
Brings you America's business news right from the get-go. Let's get to the market and what it means for you.
You know, timing is everything. The rally, you've got to stay with us.
Like Fox Business, keeping you ahead of the curve.
The most trending topic in America right now.
With insight into the impact of U.S. and global markets.
That stock's getting almost all of the attention.
From the people you can trust.
This is really good.
Fox Business, America's business network.
So President Biden throwing in a towel on his plan to get that $2 trillion spending package through before Christmas, but he hasn't given up the ghost of getting it passed. Now, with runaway inflation and public opinion against his economic agenda, many think the bill could be dead. But if I were a Republican in Washington, I wouldn't give a toast with the eggnog. Not just yet. Joining me now, Republican Senator Mike Vaughn of Indiana. Senator, it looks like Senator Manchin holding his ground, certainly, here's the thing, I don't recall him ever saying he wouldn't pass something. So if they take out, for instance, the child tax credit, could there still be a $1 trillion deal soon? So my observation, been here a little under 3 years, and watching Joe, thank goodness we have him in cinema, otherwise this would be a done deal more along the lines of 8 to 10 trillion Bernie Sanders plan, then we'd really be in big trouble. He has, I think, staked out where he wants to go. I think since they've invested so much political capital as a party, that sooner or later they will dumb it down to where it will satisfy him. On the revenue side, Kirsten Sinema said, hey, we're not going to undo the Trump tax cuts. Thank goodness. That was driving a lot of what we saw pre-COVID. I think sooner or later they'll wrestle among themselves and come up with something. I'd like to see it fade into the sunset. It gets caught into a crowded legislative calendar once you get past May of next year, and then the midterms start to take over. So they've wasted a lot of time already, a lot of egg on their face. I'd still put odds on something happening. I just don't know when and how much. Let's stay on this child tax credit for a moment. It's always sold as a way to get folks out of poverty. But here's the thing that to me it's a PR thing, because that only means a family of four, for instance, having an income of $27,000. And what I don't get is why, as a nation, do we keep aiming so low for our fellow Americans? I don't understand why Republicans don't push hard on the notion that a better thing is to have a great economy where people can work and make a lot more than $27,000 and really, really do something great for their families. And I think that's a challenge that we're going to have, because if we don't get both chambers back in 2022 and start laying out some policy that makes sense, this will loop back again somewhere down the road where, especially the independents, who, in my opinion, elect the swing state senators, congressmen, president, they want something other than no, or I'm not interested. So we've got everything on our side. We've both been complicit in these standard $1 trillion structural deficits because we have no fiscal discipline here. That still doesn't mean we get left off the hook for not crafting some policy on the big issues, embracing smaller government, real pay-fors. They've given us that challenge. That is what I'm most worried about come 2022, come 2024. You know, the American public right now bracing for this latest wave of the variant, the COVID-19 variant. In the meantime, and you and Senator Cotton have introduced this pharmaceutical bill. I think it's perfect timing for it. We've got less than a minute, but I'd like you to share your thoughts with the audience. Clearly, the COVID and its ramifications says, hey, supply chains are screwed up across the board. Rare earth minerals, pharmaceuticals. We're focusing on that because it's the highest cost of our healthcare sector in our economy anyway. It needs to be reformed, more competitive, more transparent. We thought this would be a good place to make sure we're not at the mercy of our biggest geopolitical adversary in the world to make the basic pharmaceuticals. So All these supply chain movers, Charles, CEOs have been looking at that over the last 2-3 years, even before COVID. It just brought things like semiconductors, rare earth minerals, pharmaceuticals. We've got to make sure we're not at the beck and call of somebody that wants to replace us on the world stage sooner or later. And looks like everything they're doing, they're trying to put their money where their mouth has been.
Oh, no doubt about it. In fact, I invite everyone to take a look at the periodic table. Almost every day, China is dominating more and more of the periodic table. I want people to think about that. That's the basis for everything. We couldn't have this conversation without it, and we certainly couldn't defend and keep our prosperity.
And we've got most of that stuff right here in the good old U.S. of A. And that's where we as Republicans need to cite that, do it in a reasonable way. And Tom and I did this because we thought it was the right place to start, where you get the biggest bang for our buck.
Absolutely. I mean, this is something common sense that it should obliterate any sort of political ounce. Senator Braun, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You bet.
So I'm calling 2022 the year of government with the soldiers. Coming up, Douglas O'Nagan on how government agencies are gearing up for war on free markets, and cryptocurrency bracing for fair regulations. I should have used the air quotes. Can they really trust DC will just stop there? I'll ask BitFury CEO Brian Brooks. We'll be right back.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider and are only available if the provider determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. You pay just $30 for a month's supply. And right now, get your first online doctor's visit totally free when you go to forhims.com/voxbusiness. That's right, free. Zero copay, no expensive appointments, no awkward face-to-face conversations to get your prescription. Hims connects you to doctors online who can evaluate you and, if appropriate, prescribe your ED medication. And a pharmacy sends it right to your door. Hims makes it affordable, private, and incredibly easy. Nobody likes dealing with ED. Now, thanks to Hims, nobody has to. And that's really good news. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/voxbusiness. That's forhims.com/voxbusiness for your free online visit. forhims.com/voxbusiness.
Guys, 2021's been a roller coaster year, so spoil her this Christmas by giving her the next best thing to wearing nothing at all. With soft, silky, naturally nude pajamas, exclusively from Pajamagram, America's PJ experts for nearly 20 years. Sensuous, smooth, naturally nude pajamas feel just like her own bare skin. She'll love slipping these on every night because the texture and touch of naturally nude pajamas is so soft and luxurious, they'll melt away her stress. She'll love the feeling of wearing next to nothing at all, and you'll love the way they look. Check them out at Pajamagram.com. And right now, when you order today, you'll get a great deal. Free gift packaging. That means you don't have to wrap a thing. Get her naturally nude pajamas and get your free gift packaging today before this deal disappears. Just go to Pajamagram.com. It's fast, easy, and delivery by Christmas is guaranteed. That's Pajamagram.com.
Paid for by government.com.
Have you heard? The United States Mint has issued the Morgan Silver Dollar for the first time in 100 years. You can own a 2021 Morgan Silver Dollar with the same design as the coins used in commerce during the Wild West. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 175,000 legal tender silver dollars were issued. These 2021 Morgan Silver Dollars are brand new, bright and shining legal tender coins minted by the iconic Philadelphia Mint at 99.9% pure silver. Just call 1-800-859-1629 and you are guaranteed an uncirculated mint-condition 2021 Morgan Silver Dollar. But with limited quantities, you must call now. To learn more, call 1-800-859-1629. If you order now, you'll receive a free collector bonus, a $25 value free with every order. Call 1-800-859-1629 now to secure your new 2021 Morgan Silver Dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-859-1629.
Hey, why so glum, chum?
Just not feeling appreciated lately. You seem to be.
Yeah, between you and me, I was shocked about my bonus check. I bought all these gadgets, like this luxury watch and...
Oh, good, you're both here. I don't know how to say this, but there's been a huge mistake in payroll.
Clearly, this is a mistake.
Don't worry, this won't happen again. We're signing up with TriNet. Their HR solutions are designed to help avoid mishaps like this.
TriNet takes care of the details, so you can take care of business. Learn more at TriNet.com/XM.
This is all non-refundable.
Sirius XM Radio. You're listening to Sirius XM Radio. Their reputation, their insight, your advantage.
We don't just cover financial news, we anticipate it.
Barron's Roundtable, Fridays, only on Fox Business. Brought to you by Invesco QQQ. Become an agent of innovation. Invesco Distributors Incorporated.
You know the old Christmas classic, the Nutcracker. An army of toy soldiers comes to life in Clara's dream to hate the Nutcracker in his battle against the king of the mice. Well, I got to tell you, it looks like 2022, we're going to see all kinds of wooden soldiers in the government tapped to go after all aspects of free markets and capitalism. I'm going to bring in the president of American Action Forum, Douglas O'Lakin. Douglas, I love your piece today, quote, fear and loathing at the FDIC. It seems they're suggesting that some strange things are going on, but they signal an overthrow of current merger standards. And that, I don't think, is the only thing, is it?
No, I think this is a really important and not unique episode. We're looking across the government at attempts to change the standards for mergers and acquisitions. I mean, as you know, the way things are guided now is businesses have the right to choose how to configure themselves, and the government steps in only when they can show that a merger or acquisition is going to be detrimental to consumers. It's called the Consumer Welfare Standard. It's pretty simple. It just says we want markets to work for people. They want to pitch that overboard in favor of a whole bunch of arbitrary standards. How big are you? How much market share do you have? Do we not like your politics? And then the limit, you lose that rudder that says markets are there to deliver for the American people, and we interfere with them only when they're not doing that. I'm really concerned about that. And this episode of the FDIC just brought it all to light because it was done in such a bizarre fashion, waiting until the head of the FDIC is on an overseas plane and then trying to take control with what looks to be a vote that's certainly unprecedented, maybe illegal. So I'm really concerned about this. We saw it at the FDIC. We've seen it at the Federal Trade Commission. My guess is it'll pop up elsewhere in weeks and months.
There's a reason they were trying to get Omarova in there, right? I mean, and by the way, I urge everyone to go check that out. It's another one of your masterpieces. I don't know, you do them almost like every week. Yesterday, we learned about the CFPB looking into the buy now, pay later thing. Now, I kind of sense that they're coming to the aid of these big banks. They've been complaining, obviously, about all the advantages that fintech has. Is this something that they have to do? Is this also necessary?
No. I mean, these, buy now, pay later. We've seen vendor finance. We've seen layaway plans for a long time. There's nothing new about the mechanics of this transaction. There's a claim that perhaps they've been misusing the data they acquired in the process, but to my knowledge, there's no specific allegation. So it just looks like a fishing expedition to me to go in and take a look at the business models here and see if there's something they can maybe use to gum up the works. And, what they say is, people might borrow too much. Well, that's just the nanny state in action. People are smart. They can handle their finances. I don't buy the whole thing.
I got a headline for you. Quote, Trump-era curbs on its shareholder activism find favor in Australia. Now, apparently Australia actually seeking to curb the influence of activist investors that they want to force firms to do all kinds of things, whether it's climate change, hire more women. I'm really shocked, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm surprised by this. Australia, prior to the pandemic, was one of those miracle stories. It had not suffered a recession in decades and had really clung to a pretty disciplined set of economic policies. So this is a big departure from that. I didn't see it coming. And, it's one thing to say, we as a nation want to have a priority on, say, climate change, and we're going to put in place policies, carbon taxes, whatever they might be, that drive to put a premium on carbon emissions. That's something the government can do. But having done that, you let the companies go. You let them meet their requirements in any way they see fit and try to produce high-quality products in the process. It's the micromanaging. It's using these policies to reach in and micromanage that becomes so dangerous.
It really has. Douglas, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I want to now bring in Big Fury Group CEO Brian Brooks. And Brian, you were at this House crypto hearing, and I read where you said that one way to regulate the industry would be by preventing people from investing in crypto because you want them to avoid the volatility and suggesting maybe only the rich should have access. And when I read that, I'm saying to myself, golly, that seems to be 100% opposite of what the crypto story is supposed to be about. Tell us why this is the way to go.
Well, Charles, it's not that it's the way to go. What I was trying to do is give an example of what the current U.S. regime is all about. So we have this rule in the United States called the Accredited Investor Rule. It's a big exemption from securities laws. And what it does is it allows rich people with a certain threshold of assets or a certain income, to invest in IPOs, initial coin offerings, and all kinds of other things, which is where wealth is generated. So the point I was trying to make is not that we should embrace that, but that we should recognize that unless we have regulatory reform soon, the only people who will participate in Web3 are rich people.
I understand. Now, at the same hearing, Congressman Patrick McHenry of North Carolina said that technology is already in place, that this technology, this whole Web3 technology, is already regulated. Is he right, or should there be some quote-unquote some common sense rules within there?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is common sense is kind of in the eye of the beholder. But right now, lending is regulated. Truth in advertising is regulated. Securities and derivatives are regulated. So the question I always have is, how come whenever a new technology comes along in this country, we think the solution is to build a new regulatory agency? We've got plenty of agencies. The issue is understanding how this technology fits into the current framework and letting investors and builders move forward. That's our problem, is we haven't done that yet.
I'm worried, and I think a lot of crypto investors are worried that next year you can see really more, the Washington, D.C. go after them. I mean, we just had this infrastructure bill that was passed. There were some things in there that put a tremendous onus on just regular crypto investors. I mean, think about this. November 15th, the bill was passed. Bitcoin was around 65,000. It's been as low as 45,000. How worried are you that once the government's, that this sort of camel's nose gets under the tent, that we could see too much regulation? Are you confident that this hearing and other hearings will maybe educate Washington and make sure that they don't destroy this industry?
Well, Charles, I couldn't ask the question better myself. I mean, I'm worried about two basic things. One of those things is that the people who talk about regulating this really mean they want to prevent it. That's a big worry. But the other thing I worry is we have these existing structures through which we conduct finance in this country. They're called banks and broker-dealers. And if you were serious about regulating this asset, what you would do is you would let it into the existing system. You would let banks use Ethereum and Solana to clear payments as opposed to using FedWire and the automated clearinghouse, for instance. But for some mysterious reason, the same people who claim to want crypto regulation are preventing crypto from entering the regulated economy. Now, explain that to me.
Yeah, great point. Brian, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. We're going to probably need you a few more times next year.
Always a pleasure, Charles.
Thanks. You know those mega cap names that have been invincible, propping up the market rally despite all of the carnage under their hood? Well, we've seen that they've been more vulnerable. Wall Street saying they've actually flown too close to the sun. And by the way, don't look down, folks, but those so-called meme stocks.
In 1.5 miles, keep right on I-10 East.
Tell me what you really think. Tweet me at CV Payne. AMC to the rescue. Also, we're going to soon find out the fate of Elizabeth Holmes and his Theranos trial. But first I'm going to ask why nobody is calling her out for crocodile tears. Kind of like they did with Kyle Rittenhouse. We'll be right back.
In 1/2 mile, keep right on I-10 East towards Pensacola.
Rockets. In the alternative songs on All Nation Top Hits. Hear these and more anytime, anywhere on the SXM app.
With inflation at a 30-year high and COVID variants shaking up the markets.
Keep right on I-10 East towards Pensacola now.
One of the most sought-after investments by those looking for long-term growth with low volatility.
Proceed on I-10 East.
That's right. Fine art. Why? Contemporary art prices appreciated 14% annually from 1995 to 2020, outpacing the S&P 500 index. With numbers like that, it's no wonder the ultra-wealthy continue to add art to their investment portfolios. And for the first time ever, you can too. With a new fintech platform called Masterworks, you can access one of the hottest markets on earth, fine art. Masterworks is securitizing the exclusive art market, which allows you to add this resilient asset class to your investment portfolio. And right now, Masterworks is giving listeners priority access to their exciting offerings. Go to the website, masterworks.io/XM to get started now. Masterworks.io/XM. Visit masterworks.io/XM and start investing today. See important disclaimers at masterworks.io/disclaimer.
Individual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Invest wisely.
You know that old dilemma. If a tree falls in the forest, well, if someone contacts your business and no one's there to greet them, did it really happen?
Hello?
Hello?
Who's that?
Who's that?
Oh, this is James. I just had a question.
This is James. I just had a question.
Okay, I get it. It's an echo.
Okay, I get it. It's an echo.
Wow, well, you don't have to mock me.
Wow, well, you don't have to mock me.
I'm so alone out here.
But you're not alone with Ruby. We're the team of remote receptionists and chat specialists who are always on, 24/7. We answer all your calls and chats live from right here in the U.S. We take messages and transfer calls, just like an in-house receptionist, only better. Experience Ruby for yourself. Visit Ruby.com, or better yet, call us 866-GET-RUBY.
Bust your hump every day to earn money to cover your mortgage, bills, and your lifestyle. Why not quit that job with rollover money? Passive income that keeps rolling in so you can hit the snooze button and just roll over. Do it with Income Property. It's the #1 way to build wealth. Clayton Morris, president and owner of Morris Invest, and his team of experts build new rental properties in prime locations. They rent it out and manage it all for you. His team handles everything. You just sit back and collect rent checks. Now, it's easy to own income property with none of the headaches. 70% of their clients are repeat customers, and 80% refer their friends and family. With an ROI of 17 to 20% internal rate of return and a very low minimum investment, you can build long-term passive income. Get started today with a free personalized investing plan. Just click the Book a Free Call button at morrisinvest.com to get started today. That's morrisinvest.com.
Polly, can you run back and wrap that? No, you've got a customer.
The holidays came early for the Hendricks Boutique.
Yes, we'll be open even later.
They'll need a temp fulfillment manager to tie up the holiday loose ends.
I need some more help at the register. Somebody? Oh, sure.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Wall Street experts have gone into the fetal position and believe everybody else should join them. It is amazing how quickly they flee turbulence associated with taking risk. You know, it reminds me of the Greek and Roman mythology, and one of the reasons is that it was so effective back in those days is that it helped to keep order. Think about this. Each story, some sort of a parable about man taking risk or getting out of their lane, so to speak. Think Prometheus, think Icarus, and think about all those frogs racing around the woods that used to be human beings. Now, I do think there's a role for mythology in today's market, however. Let's talk about the gods of Mount Olympus. Very much akin to these mega cap growth names that have so much influence and power over the overall market. Now, for now, these immortals, as they've come to rule for years, I think they will continue probably for the rest of our lifetime, but that doesn't mean that there aren't upstarts out there looking to displace them the way the Olympians displaced the Titans. But this is only good news for investors. Still in the last couple of days, I've got to tell you, so many people have been asking me, do they hold stocks like Apple and Microsoft? Will it be okay? They keep telling me that they're hearing people on TV say
that it's, these stocks are in trouble and that everyone should sell everything, including those names, and join them as they hide into the hills and wait for the danger to pass away. Maybe they'll become fawns and stay in the shadows. Now, I'm holding those Olympian stocks, and a lot of these upstart stocks, I'm looking to buy them on weakness. So keep an eye on the NASDAQ 100. I think that's going to be a pretty good guide for you. Coming into the session, it was right at the 50-day moving average. That could be a clue. I'm going to bring in now the CIO of ER Shares, Eva Ados. Eva, now, what are you doing with respect to some of these mega cap tech names? That it seems Wall Street now is saying, hey, the run is over. Get out of them, bail out, and look for a nice, solid value name.
First of all, I appreciate the Greek analogy as someone born in Greece. And I agree with the statement. Mega caps had a great year in 2021. This cannot continue forever. We believe we'll see rotation soon. As smaller capitalizations lag behind in 2021, we might see them taking over in 2022.
So your firm is focused on entrepreneurship stocks, right? I mean, I went through your website a couple of times. It's very...
Will be replaced with the next generation of entrepreneurial companies. That's just the evolutionary process, and that's important to support these companies that might have weak financials, like Amazon went for more than a decade with no profits, but look at it now.
No, and to your point, you also have a next-gen ETF. It's under some pressure. It's mostly tech, but you've got consumer discretionary and communications services. Those are the new areas, right? I mean, they're going through some pain now, but isn't this where we should be looking for opportunity?
That's what we believe. This is a disruptive strategy. It was a top fund in 2020. Of course, in 2021, along with other disruptive strategies, it had a difficult year. But we have been doing this since 2005. So, in fact, we were the first to navigate this entrepreneurial disruptive area. And our research shows that over an extended time horizon, this disruptive entrepreneurial strategy outperforms peer benchmarks. And that's why we believe it might be a good time to buy now, as these companies have been hit significantly.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm telling everyone that you've got to have a time horizon that's not tomorrow. Everyone says they're a long-term investor until these stocks start going down, but I guarantee most people are going to regret a lot of names that they've sold this week. Eva, thank you so much. Appreciate talking to you. All right, so the fate of former Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes is about to be handed to the jurors. Will her Terry testimony keep her out of the jail cell? Plus, Elon Musk wars with Senator Elizabeth Warren continues to heat up. And now some folks are saying, hey, can we get the person of the year maybe to go to D.C.? Let me ask you, would you want to see the founder of Tesla run for office? Tweet me at CBK. We'll be right back.
What does 30 years of scientific research and advanced lab testing mean? At Quantum Nutrition Labs, it means nutrition that really works. We're closing out this year with an incredible special, up to 75% off site-wide on all nutritional supplements. Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. Want to activate your immune system, get more energy, deep sleep, and promote your very best brain health? Visit QNLabs.com. Sale ends December 31st. Also available on Amazon.
Thomson Reuters, enabling legal and tax professionals to seize new growth opportunities and increase organizational value with innovative content-driven technology. Let's shape tomorrow together with Thomson Reuters. Learn more at thomsonreuters.com/shapingtomorrow.
70% of the Fortune 100 choose Zoom. With phone, chat, workspaces, apps, events, and video in a single platform, Zoom powers all your communications. Large enterprises, small businesses, and individuals use the secure Zoom platform to enable new ways of working, learning, hosting events, and supporting their customers. And now you can save 15% on meetings, chat, and phone with the Zoom United bundle. Visit zoom.com/bundle. Zoom, how the world connects.
Investors, are you sitting on capital or wanting to diversify? The NRIA Real Estate Development Fund provides returns right now. They capitalize on strategic markets. They offer steady monthly payouts plus double-digit annualized targeted returns. They're 15-year industry leaders who have seen it all. Start your due diligence at nria.net or call 800-800-1414. That's 800-800-1414.
An offer of securities is only made by the NRIA Private Placement Memorandum. Read it first. Past performance does not guarantee future results. NRIA is a real estate development firm. Learn more at nria.net.
Your best golf is waiting for you at Club Champion. The nation's top custom club fitter uses leading technology and over 50,000 hittable combinations to build your ideal set. Their master fitters excel at finding more distance, better dispersion, and most importantly, lowering your scores. For a limited time, your fitting is 50% off with an equipment purchase of $500 or more. Terms apply. Use code WINTER at clubchampiongolf.com to book your fitting. That's clubchampiongolf.com.
If you're looking for a new truck driving job that offers more money and better routes, you'll find one at CDLJobs.com. CDLJobs.com is your single source for thousands of new, local, regional, dedicated, and OTR jobs that are searchable by zip code. CDLJobs.com allows you to take control by researching all trucking companies and then selecting the ones you want to apply to. Start your search today on the most trusted jobs board in the trucking industry, CDLJobs.com.
Looking for extra cash to supplement retirement savings or cover medical costs? Did you know if you're over the age of 60, you could sell your life insurance policy? Your first step is finding out its value. Just go to abacuspace.com, use our free life settlements calculator, and get an instant estimate of what your life insurance policy is really worth. That's abacuspace.com or call 1-800-561-4148 to learn your policy's value now. Abacuspace.com is affiliated with Abacus Settlements LLC, a licensed life settlements provider. Not available in every state.
You're listening to SiriusXM Radio.
So the fate of Elizabeth Holmes will soon be in the hands of jurors. Closing arguments are expected to wrap up today for the former third of CEO's trial. Now, once held as the next Steve Jobs, Holmes is charged with turning her blood testing startup into a massive scam. Kelly O'Grady is live outside the courthouse with the latest. Kelly.
Hi, Charles. Yeah, the latest from the courthouse is that the defense is now pinning some of this on investors. They're saying, hey, you should have known better. You should have done your due diligence. Now, the once billionaire faces 9 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and she faces up to 20 years in prison if convicted, as well as restitution. This is all going to come down to what kind of person the jury believes her to be. And yesterday, the prosecution wrapped up closing arguments, accusing the entrepreneur of choosing what they called, quote, fraud over failure. The narrative was of a brazen con artist who knowingly delivered false information to investors and, most dangerously, patients. Now, while the prosecution called 29 witnesses, the defense called just 3, including Holmes herself, who spent 7 days on the stand. That's key because it shows how confident the defense is in her ability to sway jurors. And that picture was of a young innovator who made mistakes but genuinely believed in her ability to change the world. And what this all comes down to is intent. Did Elizabeth Holmes willfully intend to deceive investors? And a key aspect of the jury's decision may be her claim that she was the victim of a decade-long abusive relationship with the company's COO and president. She was unable to make decisions for herself. Now, the defense is wrapping up their closing arguments right now. The prosecution will get an opportunity to rebut, and then it's going to go to the jury. But Charles, you know, this could serve as a warning to Silicon Valley more broadly and a mandate to those founders of really just how far you can and can't go when chasing that elusive unicorn status.
Great point, Kelly. We'll see. This is one that's going to cut across all news. Everyone's interested in this. We'll come back to you later. In the meantime,
as we wait the fate here, legal experts in the media have been pointing out to this Terry testimony, right, that Holmes had, and maybe turning the tide of the trial. Now, she described alleged physical and psychological abuses from her former boyfriend. In fact, one article describing it as, quote, a masterful moment. But when Kyle Rittenhouse, think about that, when he cried on the stands, he was blasted for it. We're going to bring in District Media President Beverly Hallberg on this double standard. But first, Beverly, listen to this. It's a perilous move for any criminal defendant, but perhaps the only move for a performer as gifted as Holmes. So far, she hasn't disappointed. I mean, this is from Business Insider, my man Adam Lusinski, who I like a lot, but golly, the elites seem to still love her.
It's so disappointing because I would argue that the tech media and business media let her get away with so much when she was at the top. And this is someone also who has excelled in PR, excelled in marketing. She had that trademark black turtleneck that she ripped off of Steve Jobs, even poached some of his employees. She cared about image. She even got the cover of Glamour magazine. So I actually think an over-the-top show may not actually work in her favor because she was known as excelling in PR, but not excelling in actually innovation.
I've got some breaking news for you. Just out moments ago, the CDC announcing that testing students who were exposed to COVID is an option, whether they have been vaxxed or not, instead of just mandatory quarantining them at home. Now, we know so far that the government lockdowns have not worked. This has been one area of contention. Your take on this news and maybe what it could mean for not just the economy and our children's education, but even for some of these moms who want to go back to work.
Well, I think this is crucial, first of all, just for the children themselves who need to be in school. You mentioned moms who have to be at work, and I really think testing has been an important component of fighting COVID that we haven't invested in nothing. We now know that vaccines, you can still contract COVID, you can still spread it. It comes down to testing and making sure we know who has it, who doesn't. So I think it's great if we can find out kids don't have COVID, keep them in school as long as possible. They've already missed too much.
What's your take? I want to switch gears here a little bit. Elon Musk, I was going to say he's been in the news, but when isn't he in the news, right? But now there are actually calls for him to run for office. You've seen the latest Twitter feud between him and Senator Elizabeth Warren. People are saying, you know what?
In 1/10 of a mile, turn right.
Vote for him?
I don't know if I'd vote for him, but here's what I will say is I think
Turn right now and then make a U-turn.
This powerful presence, I would even put Donald Trump in there. I think they get bored after a while when they've done so much. So who knows? Maybe he's bored. He's tired of just dealing with electric cars and building rockets, and he may throw his hat in the race. He is stirring it up, which is interesting, but I do think it's interesting he was named as Person of the Year because he is somebody who does epitomize the American dream, and so I give him a lot of props for not looking to government to fix and innovate along the way. He's somebody who's taken it upon himself and taken great risks to innovate.
I mean, and listen, he took advantage of a lot of government subsidies and things like that. But what he is saying with
in 2/10 of a mile, make a U-turn and then turn right.
And I think it's the central element here. Do you think he lays it on, though, sometimes as a communications expert, too thick with some of these Twitter wars?
I think a little bit too much, but here's the thing. He's known for being very quirky. That is his brand. That is his shtick. We don't expect him to do things the proper way, the way everybody else would do it, and that's why he's gotten a lot of attention. So I think
make a U-turn now and then turn right.
Enough that they can get away from some of the antics. Again, I'm not sure if it sells to me, but it sells to a lot of people out there.
Yeah. No, I think he's become a hero to a whole lot of people, and for mostly all the right reasons. Beverly, thank you very much. We'll talk again real soon. Thanks, if I don't see you, have a great Christmas. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has 99 problems, but guess what? A SPAC ain't one. He is actually bucking the celebrity SPAC trend and beating Jay-Z in the process. Wait till you hear these details coming right up.
I got 99 problems, but a chain one. Hit me. 99 problems, but a chain one. I got 99 problems, but
it's college football bowl season.